Awesome.
Cute.
Nice. I almost drank out of the mic. I was like, Sandy, don't be too nervous. And now I'm nervous and I almost
And I'm not nervous at all.
almost drank out of the mic. We're not nervous. We've done this before. We've definitely done this before.
Many a times.
Many
Once.
years ago. But yeah, this is the Stone Weddings podcast. This is the exact thing I said I wasn't going to do. A little cringe intro. But yeah, we thought we would do a quick little intro episode about like how we got into photography or wedding photography specifically. And yeah, this is so 2026. Our first wedding that we photographed at was our really good friends, Wes and Olivia's, in 2021. We captured some photos there. You did.
Yes. We weren't the official booked photographer. We were just guests. But a couple nights before the wedding, Olivia asked me if I would come over to her getting ready suite where she was getting ready with her bridesmaids, and if I would like capture some photos. So I really rolled with it, and I took it as I'm getting paid to do this, and I'm gonna do the best I can. And I'm really happy with the whole experience, how I felt like being with the girls in the room, capturing moments. I captured like one of my favorite photos ever of Olivia's dad and her during getting ready. It was a very documentary photo. And we also captured later that day some photos just riding in a trolley with them, which are some of my favorite photos ever.
Yeah, that is definitely a photo that we used on our website for a while, and Olivia had as her profile picture as well.
Makes me so proud.
Shout out Olivia and Wes, our first couple. And then our other first couple, Brandon and Juana, other really good friends. We did wedding photos and like a wedding film.
They had a beautiful backyard wedding where a lot of her family came from Colombia, and it was like it really felt like, all right, this is real. We are running the show. We are helping them kind of also with a bit of a timeline with everything. It really felt like we're in.
Definitely, and we were hired for that wedding.
Yes.
The first one, I captured photos of like Wes getting ready and the guys. Wes didn't even have to ask, but I will say, you know, if you're gonna do that at a wedding, make sure to ask the bride and groom if it's okay, because
I remember the moment when I was capturing getting ready photos with Olivia before the official book time with our photographer, and as soon as the photographers rolled in, I just put my camera in the bag and I kind of like to the side, like I didn't really meddle in, because I had a feeling early on that that's the right thing to do. Like I'm not gonna. Once the photographers were there, I wasn't going to compete with them over photos. It would be just, they're paid to be there, and it was just kind of natural.
Because some photographers can be weird about that. Like, I think we're okay unless you're kind of getting in our way. But I grew up and my parents were like the aunt and uncles with the cameras at my cousin's wedding. And I think that that's good. Like, the more photos, the better. But at the same time, giving space to the photographer to capture.
We usually make friends with people who are taking photos at the wedding, and most of the time they're very normal people. Like I can see the needs if you're photographing in your free time, why you would want to capture photos at somebody's wedding, and as long as you're respectful, I feel like we always make friends with them.
Yeah, and that's how a lot of people live their moments. Like I live through my life moments through the camera. People criticize that, but they're captured. I can remember them, and my mom would talk about that, as well as, you see it in the faces of the people who bring the cameras. They want to capture it for themselves. But I remember the first wedding that I ever shot anything at. I had cousins who had these beautiful weddings, 3 weddings. They were a couple of them in New York, one in Bermuda. They were beautiful, and my parents were taking photos there. But then I remember at my cousin Carly's wedding, I remember I was nervous to ask, but I was going to do like video, just like capturing the moment. This was like 2017 or something. And I felt so nervous, but the photographer was so nice. He let me literally just do videos of all of his shots. And
that's so sweet.
Yeah. And recently Carly and Joe, like this last month or so, they said that they watched it on their anniversary. So that's cool. And that's just a sign that even if you're not necessarily 100% proud of the quality of the early work, like memories and are memories. They're important to capture, and like people...
Yes, and one thing is, if you are gonna do that, if you're gonna record everything and you kind of like go to wedding as a guest with that intention, just stay on the photographer's side.
Yeah.
That's one basic rule.
Yeah,
Don't
Don't
go
go in
in
front.
front.
And don't try to direct the photographer.
Yes, yes. Unless you're really a professional and you can ask for 1 second, I will usually let somebody. If you're an aunt that takes like photos your whole life and you want to take one photo of the bride, your niece or something,
Oh,
definitely. Like
for
I'm
sure.
coming direct for a couple minutes. Just don't turn it into like I don't want to make couples repeat poses twice, like every time or anything like that. Just, as long as it's all about being quick and respectful.
Yeah, we have some stories that we'll share another time of that.
Yes, that's why we started this podcast, to share all the
Yeah,
stories.
share the stories. But yeah, let's talk about the cameras, because that is a crucial part of how we got into this. You don't need to pick any specific camera, but I remember when I first started photographing back in the day and making videos, I started on a Canon T3i, and my parents had these, like, not the top of the top brand, but they had like Sony's, and nothing was mirrorless yet. It was still the DSLR, and I remember in 2019, 2020, when we first started like venturing out and doing like, because we do commercials and photo shoots and things too for businesses and stuff, we started doing some projects. We were using a Panasonic GH5, and I remember during COVID, we would go on walks together, and I would really not love to bring out the GH5 and those big lenses on our walks.
Yeah, I would get ready, put my makeup on,
Yeah.
and be like, "You want to take some photos of me?" And you'll be like, "All right," but then I could see you would drag it because you know how heavy the camera would be.
And I started on the phone, and I used to see this hashtag Fujiframes all the time. I had no idea what it meant. I thought it was just a vibe. It is a vibe, and we at this time we weren't even really thinking highly of wedding photography, even though my parents would always kind of push us in that direction and stuff. But we weren't really thinking about it until, I don't know when, but I stumbled on the Fujifilm X100. The V wasn't out yet, but it was the X100 4. And then I stumbled on Kevin Mullins' YouTube channel. And Kevin Mullins is a documentary wedding photographer in England. And his photos just struck a beautiful chord in me. And it made me fall in love with those cameras. He talks so much about how they were small, how they blended in, and how he didn't really love to do poses. He didn't love the weddings to be about the photos. He wanted it to be about the memories, capturing people's personalities, and how the cameras helped him achieve that, because he blended in almost like a guest.
Yes, so we can say that he is almost a reason we have a business, and we have wedding photography business, because I never had an idea of doing wedding photography. Like, it never really crossed my mind until you brought it up. And when you brought it up, I remember being like, are you sure? Like, weddings, like, I've seen wedding photos, and back then it was very, like, all I was seeing was, like, that bright and airy style with, like, very curated poses. And it all seemed a little like I could come up with more fun things to build your business around. And once you showed me Kevin Mullins and his style, and then we looked into some other documentary photographers, that's when I was like, oh, I was wrong. This is actually art.
Yeah.
This is as artists. And Kevin Mullins is as documentary as it goes. Like, we all of us are striving to be documentary photographers. He really is. Like, he will not do group photos.
Yeah. He says on his website, I saw, if you want group photos, it's an extra. I'll hire a second, and they'll do them. And I love that. Which I
respect.
But we actually then did something opposite of that, which is we bought a medium format camera for some of those group photos, because we know people love them and love to print them. So we do posed group photos.
And we put effort into it, but we try to make it as least time as possible.
But group photos are always better when the bride, groom, and the family care and put effort and want something out of it, because we're not really going to try to make you so creative in your group photos. That's like a logistics thing that we like to get in and out, because we truly do believe that the real moments of the wedding are when you're looking through the whole gallery, and we have these candid moments that tell the full story, and it's not just one photo, but it's a collection of them that tell the story. But yeah, I wanted to talk about our expectations going in, because mine expectation was like, weddings are stressful, everything has to be posed, everything is for the photos, and then you're from Serbia, so the wedding photography style in Serbia is very different as well.
Yes, there's a little bit of documentary side to it where it's like, taking photos in the church during the ceremony, maybe some party photos, but the main thing in Serbia, and of course this is all changing nowadays and I could see the shift, but growing up, this is all I saw was photographers rolling into the restaurant or maybe in front of the church or wherever the group photos are done, couples standing, and then people just coming in for photos. Some people would come in for photos like 2 or 3 times, different groups, different combinations, and couple would just stand there and smile for each photo. And then photographers would run back to their shop, print all the photos, organize them, come to the restaurant throughout the party. Of course, in a lot of the cases, missing all of the moments that happened throughout that break, as they're going to print the photos, you're missing some of the crucial documentary moments. And then you're coming into the restaurant and then you're selling those photos to the guests, which in a way, it's a beautiful thing to come from the wedding and have printed photos with bride and groom. But to me, it just looked so stressful and very just almost like unnecessary waste of time. It was just a long, especially since you end up getting those posed photos, but you don't get a lot of candidates. You don't get a lot of real moments.
Yeah, and Ksenija and I got married in Serbia, and we'll do another episode about the photographers who captured the photographer's wedding, because people ask that question all the time. And everybody asks, who captured your wedding? And we have some cool stories to share. We'll do that in another episode for sure, because that's a great story. But yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about how we initially got things going off the ground and how this worked. We're a team. We do everything together. A lot of people say who's the first and second shooter. We don't really say there's a first or second, but in reality,
but he's the second.
Yeah. I was gonna say that. You beat me to it. I was gonna say you're the second. No, I'm the second. She's the boss. She does an incredible job of dealing with the brides. Not dealing with the brides is not a good way to phrase that. Shows what the guys know about things. Working with the brides. Sorry, brides.
Since we had no bridezillas yet.
Yes, no bridezillas.
Spoiler for the rest of the podcast.
Yeah.
The stories are going to be around.
We want one. No, actually, no.
I don't know.
I just wished
I would survive a bridezilla, but I'm happy that all of our stories, around all these other stuff, all of our brides so far has been amazing.
We have a coordinator, Zilla.
Yeah. Yep.
But there was a thing I missed. I wanted to talk about the logistics of us together. It was the way that we work.
Yeah, so we don't have classic roles of first and second photographer where somebody's boss and then somebody's just kind of doing the extra coverage. Yeah. Instead, we shifted our roles a couple times throughout our career. I guess we started with let's, for example, talking about covering the ceremony. We started with me getting very classic shots down the aisle, and then maybe getting some shots of the bride, and then waiting for the first kiss. And then in the meantime, somehow we switched. Mm-hmm. And I used to tell bride and groom that during the ceremony, sometimes I lose you. Sometimes I don't know where you are, because you would get so low, or you would shoot between the guests. You would find really interesting angles. And I would just think, damn, maybe he had an emergency. He had to leave. I can't see him. I can't find him. I don't know where he is. But then I would go in the photos later on my computer, and I would see he was getting the most interesting angles from weirdest little corners.
Well, this is where we're gonna enter into a phase of complimenting each other, I guess, because that was very nice. But I will say, when we first started, I did show Senny some things about photography in the beginning, and so then when we first started, it was Senny would get the classic shots, I'd get these more creative ones. And we have our cameras labeled, and we'd see who took what. And I always tell this, it's a true story. Over time, very quickly, I started to see on all the best photos, I'd click on them, and her camera would come up, and that can be a shot to the ego a little bit when,
But you did teach me, so you must have felt good.
But it's definitely I think the nice thing is I could take credit for them anyways. It's stone weddings.
And also, one of my cameras still carries your name and your copyright. So all of my best photos one day might be somehow credited back to you.
No,
I have to change that.
I like that now it's just fluid. Like, we could just say, like, whoever took this photo. Sometimes we even have, like, third people come in. Like, we've had my brother. We've had Alvi come in. You know, one day we'll have Hari come in. And I think that their styles all, you know, blend in nice with us. And it's like a stone weddings thing.
Yeah. Well, it's healthy to have a little competition in the team.
Yeah. It definitely does push me forward to be like, okay, now I think that's what it does is like you start off with like the classic photos, you know, just trying to get the lighting right, just trying to get the composition right. Then you start entering, like trying to get stuff in the foreground, make it more interesting, you know, and then over time, you know, like seeing how creative we capture those moments, it just pushes us to go.
Well, one thing that happens, I should have looked up how many weddings we've done so far, but I'm going to say 100. Mm-hmm. That's what I kind of have a feeling. We've done around 100 weddings. And one thing that happened maybe around the 30th wedding is like you really feel like you can anticipate the moments. Mm. Like it used to be like, oh, I hope I don't miss anything. I hope I know how to be in the right place in the right time. Now it's not like we're naturally, our body gravitates to being like in the right place in the right time, but we also know what's coming a lot of the times. Like you're ready for like a hug or a tear or like a reaction, like some of our photos, such as like groom seeing bride for the first time as she walks down the aisle, those are becoming better and better over time.
Yeah.
And like, there's so many moments that we often talk on first meetings with our clients about this one moment that nobody really thinks about, which is like after you had your first kiss, the ceremony's over, you're walking down the aisle, you maybe have another kiss in the middle of the aisle. That's all kind of pretty well known. But then what happens after? Like a lot of the times, like bride and groom leave somewhere, maybe they have a glass of champagne or something. But then what happens is like the rest of the bridal party and the parents are all walking down the aisle towards the bride and groom, and the best hugs, the best moments, a lot of tears. Everything happens in that moment, and nobody really thinks about that moment when you're planning your day. Like
it's the first time that you're greeting these people again. Like, yeah, they say married. Now welcome, and you raise your hands, but really you're face to face hugging, and people are congratulating you for the very first time. And yeah, I would say objectively, a lot of photographers might not even be there in the moment, but
I've been at weddings where a lot of photographers are, okay, ceremony's over, you got the classic, kiss down the aisle or whatever. And now let's go look at the spots for the group photos. Let's start planning that. Like they're not even with the couple when that happens. What we do is I stay back, capture everybody, all the bridal party walking down the aisle, but you're already with the bride and groom. So you never miss those moments. And then I join you after everybody walked. But that is one thing that we discovered pretty early. And it's kind of like now it's an instinct.
Yeah.
You're going to.
Like, and this is in a way like a shameless plug, but we're not... This is after 100 weddings in 5 years. We're not numb to this. We love every day. Like, you especially are so good with... Because, like, we always joke, like, the energy in the bride's room where Senny hangs out is always, like, getting there at 6 a.m., like, everything's, like, gotta be on time. All the girls need hair and makeup, and then the guys are, like, getting ready at noon with
dresses are getting steamed. Girls are gluing on their last nails on their fingers. There's so many different parts of getting ready.
And the guys are getting ready at noon with like Breaking Bad or football on with Chick-fil-A and
sometimes
Captain
fishing
Morgan and
golfing.
Fishing. Yeah, what's his name? Caught a fish before his wedding.
Gotta put that photo right there.
Like that was so cool. And so, but I wanted to touch on, because you were talking about over the last 5 years, some of the things that we've gotten better at. But for you, who have edited almost all of our photos, so much of them, and have seen like the change in our style, what do you think has been kind of like some of the biggest takeaways over the last 5 years of this? Maybe like, I don't know if I'm gearing that question towards like.
Yeah, well, I think that is it. Like anticipating moments. I think that we got so good that like if you were really to compare gallery from the beginning of our career versus now, you can see that at the beginning the basics are there, and then we also had really early on we had like inclination towards these very raw moments, and we were right away, like from that first photo I took of Olivia and her dad, like we had these moments. But nowadays our galleries are just filled with them, because we just know, like like I know if a bride is going down the stairs, even if it's not like an organized first look with her bridesmaids or with her grandma, like I know somebody's going to be down there that's going to see her, and I have to capture that reaction. Like no matter, like we haven't planned anything, but I know that's going to happen. So in the first couple weddings I probably wouldn't have known that, just because I'm worrying about, like, all right, we got ready, now we have to do first look with the groom, like let's make sure that everything is running on time. You don't want to miss those most important moments, so you don't really know how to be there for the small ones. And now if you scroll through our galleries, it's just full with those.
Yeah. And then how many photos do you think we come away with? We're working on that, but
I'm working on delivering less photos, just because I'm aware it can be overwhelming even for the couples. But some of our recent 10-hour coverage galleries have been close to 2,000 photos.
Delivered, not
Delivered.
taken.
Oh, we've been taking more than 10,000 photos.
Yeah, because we both have 2 cameras, and then we bring a third and a fourth. I bring a third and a fourth sometimes. But this was, I feel like this was really good. Like we could start to, this is a stupid way to wrap it up, the way I just did. But I did want to say, I wanted to give a shout out to one more member of the Stone Weddings team. If you look up there, we have our photo books. And we'll do like a close-up some other time. But the bottom one there, Meredith and Andy, that photo book was curated. What is it? What is
Designed.
Designed and curated by Nancy Cook Keegan, my aunt. She, even before we ever got into wedding photography, my mom had taken some photos at some of my cousins' weddings, and gifts to them were her creating these photo books. And when we started photographing weddings, we started offering those, and so we would like collect the photos, get make sure the couple chose their favorites and get Nancy in, and she would.
Yeah, she's been doing it for so long. She was starting with like your printed ones that I forgot what they're called, but like were kind of like books that are really like handmade. And then she learned early on how to use design tools. And now we have like some of the best.
My grandmother did it a little bit too. So I wonder if that's where it came. But she does such a beautiful job of telling a story through the photos. So a shout out to Nancy.
Shout out to Nancy.
And yeah, we wanted to kind of keep this like introductory episode. I feel like you and I both chose funny things to use as our mics. What's yours?
Mine is this back scratcher.
Mine is another plug. Our production company, Kickback. We make movies, but we also do commercials and brand films and documentaries, and really we just love to capture, continue the style. What am I doing? Marketing Kickback on a Stone Weddings podcast, but they do the same thing. Our whole life is capturing memories and moments. And
if you were on somebody else's podcast, you would plug your production company. So this is you can do it on your own.
Yeah, it's directly connected. Like it's to get to know us. I've always told people I'm a filmmaker. We've done films. Our latest film is a romance in Serbia. We did that where she's from. Man, look at this. See, it's all tied in beautifully together.
Tied in love.
But yeah, we've been doing this 5 years. We have 9,994. That's not a number. Followers on our
check.
Instagram. Yeah, and we did a little shout out, which is like we would shout out who followed.
Let me check if anybody else followed. Maybe we hit 1,000. Probably.
But we did want to shout out some people.
I don't think we hit 1,000 yet, so.
But Dan
maybe
Keegan,
you can help out with that.
Our Nancy's son, followed us. So shout out Dan.
Shout out Dan, and shout out to my bride Alyssa, and her husband Nolan. But I know, brides do all the work, so I know this was her. She made her whole family follow us, as well as some random accounts that she has, like about different topics. So we are very close to 1,000 followers, and if we get there, Alyssa, you're the real one.
Yeah. Well, and everyone who's been following us is also a real one. Yes. We love you guys, but like, we need some numbers,
All right, talking about numbers. Last thing, subscribe to the channel. I guess.
Yeah. Subscribe to these whatever this happens to be with. But yeah, thank you, and yeah, we'll get another episode out soon. But thank you guys.
Peace.
You like it?
Yeah.
I like it.
I like it.